Oh, hey, I thought it might be you. Come on in. You obviously know what time it is. It's time for another episode of PsychFlix, and today we are going to be revisiting Harry Potter. Stay tuned. I'm Jess Willens, and welcome back to another edition of PsychFlix, where each week we discuss a current or popular movie from a psychological perspective, and we sort of try and worm our way into the heads of the characters that you have come to love or hate so that you can better understand them. And you're in for a treat today. We're going to be revisiting the Harry Potter series. You may remember that in our premiere episode here at PsychFlix, we discussed Voldemort. Well, today we're going to be discussing our good friend Severus Snape. So you remember last week we actually spoke about Alan Turing and the fact that he had Asperger's and the social awkwardness that comes with Asperger's. Well, today we're going to be talking about someone else who was a little bit socially awkward. Like we said at the beginning, we're talking about Severus Snape from Harry Potter today. And, you know, Snape may actually have had a little bit of Asperger's going on himself. I don't know for sure. He's a little bit more on the line than, say, Alan Turing. But certainly he was a little bit socially awkward, a brilliant bookworm, and someone who also, like Alan Turing, got picked on a little bit. Didn't always fit in with other people as a result of perhaps not always understanding social cues. I think Snape is one of the most fascinating characters in all of fiction. There's so many layers and depth to him. But today we're going to focus primarily on the fact that Snape was bullied as a kid. And as we all know, bullying is a huge thing today. Now, newsflash, bullying has always been a huge thing. It's just that now we are beginning to understand the psychological effects of bullying. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit today, talk about how that affected Snape and how that affects kids that we know. So you guys remember the background and history of Snape, in that when he was a kid, he very much got along with Harry's mother, Lily. She was one who never picked on him, always saw the good in him, was always nice and kind to him, and he ended up developing not only a friendship with her, but it seems over the years he ultimately sort of fell in love with her.
She's jealous. She's ordinary, and you're special.
That's mean, Severus.
And yet, on the flip side of that, it was Harry's dad, James, who was Snape's bully.
Come on, Mooney, go for it. Snape! Spelliarmus!
Nice one, James.
James, finish him off. Impedimenta. Right, who wants to see me take off Snively's trousers?
What we have here is we have a kid who got bullied and picked on constantly as a kid, but there was one person in his life that he knew that saw the good in him, would always treat him kindly and with respect, and would stand up for him and never bully him. And so he has one person that he absolutely loves and respects, and he has another person that he really sort of despises. And that's how it works for kids who get bullied, is the people who bully us, we never forget them. We will always remember them, and we will always remember them with pain and with some suffering and probably with a little bit of resentment. And yet the people who stick up for us, we will always remember them also, and we'll always remember them with fondness. Now, what's interesting in the case of Snape is then as he got older, he sees that the person who always treated him with respect and the person who bullied him ended up getting together and they got married. And you can imagine just the inner turmoil that Snape is feeling. Now, we know that Snape ended up eventually joining Voldemort and becoming a Death Eater. After following Voldemort for a while as a Death Eater. Of course, when he realized and learned that Voldemort was planning on killing the Potters and killing Lily, who he loved and respected, and killing Lily's entire family, including her child, that's when he came to Dumbledore and he told Dumbledore that
prophecy did not refer to a woman. It spoke of a boy born at the end of July.
Yes, but he thinks it's her son. He intends to hunt them down now, to kill them. Hide her. Hide them all. I beg you.
What will you give me in exchange, Severus?
Anything.
But one of the things that I want to mention, though, is the fact that Snape did, at one point, get pushed into becoming a Death Eater. And this is something that we're learning as we deal with bullies in our society, and as we're learning about the psychological effects of bullying, is we're beginning to learn that those who are bullied often then become bullies. If they get bullied by kids who are older and bigger and stronger than them, then when they're older and bigger and stronger, they're a lot more likely to bully the kids who are younger and smaller than them. There's this pattern that we see, and when I was in graduate school, we had to read a book, and the title was called Hurt People, Hurt People. Now, it was a remarkable book, but what really has stuck with me is just the title. That title says so much, that when we have been hurt, when we have experienced pain in our lives, that's when we are more likely to inflict hurt and pain upon others. And so with Snape, we see that classic example, again, of the victim eventually becoming the perpetrator. He was powerless so often in his childhood, and now he has the opportunity in becoming a Death Eater and following Voldemort to gain a little bit of power and control over other people, and he seems to cling on to that. And yet, what brought him back to the good side eventually was his love for Harry's mom, Lily. But the other really fascinating thing with Snape that I want to talk about, and as anyone who's watched the movie is aware of, throughout the entire Harry Potter series, Snape always seems to have very conflicting feelings towards Harry. And that's completely understandable when you think about the fact that Harry was a combination of the person he most loved and the person he most probably despised in the world. And every time he looked at Harry Potter from just a facial perspective, what did he see? He saw his bully, James Potter. And yet, of course, we know that Harry has his mother's eyes, and so if Snape looks a little bit deeper, which I think is symbolic there, that when we look a little bit deeper, when we try and go beyond the surface, what did Snape see? He saw the person who cared about him most in his life. And occasionally he did, in fact, the final Harry Potter movie, just as Snape was dying, he looked into Harry's eyes and he said, "You have your mother's eyes." And so Snape has these conflicting feelings towards Harry. He certainly didn't always like being around Harry, was often very eager to get Harry into trouble, and yet he was completely devoted to protecting and saving Harry. And that was the part of Harry that reminded him of Lily, and he was devoted to her. So I think what I would encourage all of us to try and remember is to be the Lily in someone's life. Stand up for them when they're getting picked on. And you can be the person that they will remember the rest of their life. You can be the person who implants that spark of goodness that they will remember, so that even when they have difficult decisions that they have to make, just as Snape did, that perhaps they will choose the good because they remember the kindness and respect that you treated them with, and because you chose the good at one point, that can help them to choose the good at some future point. So those are my thoughts on the great character Severus Snape. Obviously, there's a lot more that we could talk about with Snape. Like I said earlier, I think he's one of the deepest, most complex characters in all of fiction, a remarkable character. So if you have other thoughts or insights on the character Snape, let us know in the comments below. Please, we'd be happy to discuss it with you. And also, while we're talking about Snape, if you haven't seen the little YouTube video that's going around, that kind of someone put all the major scenes of Snape's life in order, and so you can watch it. It's about a 14-minute video, but you see the entire history of Snape from beginning to end. It's extremely touching and moving as you get a chance to see who Snape really is. So once again, comment, let us know what you think of this, and subscribe to Lane's YouTube channel, Cine-Love, and please stay tuned again for next week, where we'll be back with another episode of PsychFlix. And until next week, I'm Jess Willens.